This is such an interesting series for you, Matilda. Was there something about your character that really made you want to be a part of this, or about the script that really intrigued you?
Yeah, so the script when I first got it, when I got the casting, was phenomenal. Like it's pretty rare to get a casting script and it's just flowing so effortlessly. It was from the start just so good. So that made me really interested about what is this? What kind of series is this? And then I was really intrigued about playing a character who's 360, who's like the bad guy and also the good guy, which is that was really interesting to me. And of course, I read the sex scenes and it really hit me that this was an opportunity for me to be able to play a female character who's in charge of her sexuality, who's not being pursued and who's not being dominated. She is driven by lust and what she wants, even though that makes her do some pretty questionable things. But yeah, I think it was very well written and it was just a role of a lifetime. I was like, when am I ever gonna get this opportunity again? Yeah.
There is such chemistry between Siri and David. They obviously have a history. Is there something that when you first started working with Simon you connected with, or was it just jump right in? Here's us starting to work together on these very intense scenes.
Yeah. No, we actually we when we got both of us has got had gotten the part, we started hanging out on our free time. We just it was actually our director who was like, "You guys have to hang out. You have to be friends." So for like 3 months before we started recording, we hung out, we had coffee and drank beer and talked about everything. So when we got to set, we were already pretty close. And then we basically all the actors and the team lived together during the recording, so we became one big family. So yeah, and Simon is very special to me. He's like me, Lisa, the director, and Simon, we're like a very, very tight trio. They're like absolutely like family.
You're a
And I
threesome.
think, yeah, exactly. I didn't want to say it, but
I had to
so
put the
yeah,
pun out there.
it was perfect. But yeah, and I think that really shows that I trusted him wholeheartedly. I trusted the director wholeheartedly, and they were super respectful. All of the cast members were very respectful and great.
What attracts Siri then to Camille? Is it they seem to have an instant chemistry, an instant friendship. What attracts the two of them? And obviously, I think that David follows along because he wants to make Siri happy. And as he said, I did it because I saw how excited you got when you were doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. That's completely true. So I think Siri's just she's just smitten, and I to be honest, I think I was a bit smitten as well when I met Alma, who plays Camille. She's just fantastic. She just blew me away. She's so kind and so beautiful, and I think a part of what Siri is showing is actually me being having a kind of a girl crush on her. But I think she's something completely different from David. She is free and she has these thoughts and she views the world completely different from David and Siri, I feel like. And because, you know, we are a Swedish couple, we have the Swedish view on things, which is very traditional. They've been together for 7 years, which means like they're very stable. So I think when she meets Camille, she's in a very emotionally vulnerable state and she's very open to that kind of those kind of feelings and she's just looking for something to kind of give her a sign that she should break out or do something, change something, because I think she feels very stuck in herself. And then Camille is also a very interesting character.
Siri seems to have regrets or maybe some doubts about her relationship, about her feelings for Camille after this. The interesting scene I had was when Camille, excuse me, is when Siri is alone in the shower and she puts the shower head to her chest. What is she
Mm.
thinking in that moment?
I think, um, to be honest, I think her world is absolutely crumbling because she she looks back at what happened and I think she realizes that she was the culprit of why this happened, but that she started something that she can't really take back. And I think deep inside, she knows that David is kind of innocent, and this is her storm inside that is just brewing. And I think it's kind of a projection on David in the beginning, and she's like, just do something to make this relationship work, because I don't know what to do. She's kind of climbing on the walls, and she's also, I think, very confused about her own feelings, and like, why is this happening to me? Why am I feeling, why did I feel that way, and why do I feel like running and staying at the same time? I think she's just super confused about everything, because she's in a very vulnerable state in her life, like that kind of, I think she's 27, and like that's the age where you kind of make a lot of decision, like, am I gonna work this job forever? Am I gonna marry this person? Are we gonna be together forever? And I think that scares the living hell out of her, because she doesn't know if she wants to do this, because they've been together for such a long time, and she's pursuing this law degree that she's not even sure about if she wants to do, and they live in London and everything like that. So I think she's her world is absolutely crumbling.
Is that why then she pursues John? Is it out of jealousy? Is it out of something different for her life to change things and sort of start something new because she's been with David for so long? What is it that really drives her to pursue John?
I'm just gonna put my charger on so I don't disappear. I will be back in just a second, and I will. So, um, I think, like, as the same thing with Camille, she is very, she gets pulled into this person who is so emotional and so tightly knit into their emotional life. He's a dancer, and he has this completely different life from them. And he's just something else. I think she is looking for something to replace the hole she feels inside and the things that are missing in her relationship. And I think she's very well aware of what she's doing, but she's also, she can't help it. It's just, there's something she needs to do, and I think that's the first way of her, of kind of do, having like a revolution for herself. And then of course it's a terrible decision, but I feel like for her in the moment, she just needs something else. And I think John really objectifies this life that she could have lived, and something that she's never been a part of, I feel like.
What do you think it is about this series then that's going to make it edge of your seat watching, something that's going to make people really tune in week after week? I mean, I think it's the curiosity. I think it's the differences between uh, Camille, between David, between Siri, all of them. You wonder, is Siri going to do this again? Is she ashamed of what all of those moments? It's why I asked you about that shower scene because it's also present there. So, what is it you think about Threesome that's going to fascinate viewers?
I think, first of all, that it's targeted towards a group of people that don't usually, because usually there's the young audience that like teenagers and love stories about that, and then it's like the older like love stories. But I think the age between 23 to 30 is kind of like lost, and I think that's, I think we're doing something very special. And then I think it's very relatable. I actually hated Siri from the beginning. Yeah, and I was like, why is she doing these things? But then when I started playing her, and we started doing these scenes, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been there. I've felt these feelings, and I was so ashamed. I didn't react the way Siri does, but I can completely understand what she's going through. And then I also feel like, even though it's a Swedish based series, it's very interesting because it has the intimacy of the Nordic countries, and the relationships that feels very, that are very on the skin, but also a more international um eye on it, which I think is very rare, especially for us in Sweden. We have a very straight line of what kind of content we make, and this is kind of different. I feel like so. Most of all, I hope that people can relate to the relationship drama, to the fun party scenes, and to the sex scenes, and kind of like not feel as lost in that kind of headspace. Um, and I think that also what makes us kind of different. I hope.